Eliana Cruz learned the sound of cracked ribs is quieter than movies. It was more like a wet snap, swallowed by the cheap drywall of apartment 3C, followed by the air leaving her lungs in a thin, humiliating whistle. Tyler Grayson stood over her, chest heaving, knuckles red. He looked almost confused by what he'd done, like violence was an accident that kept happening around him. Then his confusion turned into anger again, because anger was the only thing he knew how to hold. "You want to leave?" he said, voice thick with beer and ownership. "Go ahead, but you walk out that door, Ellie. You're walking out empty." Eliana tasted blood where her tooth had cut her lip. She didn't answer. Answering him was how arguments started, and arguments were how nights ended with bruises hidden under long sleeves at work. She curled around the pain in her ribs and waited for the moment he would turn away. It came when his phone buzzed on the counter. Tyler glanced at the screen, swore softly, and stepped into the bathroom to make a call. The second the door clicked shut, Eliana pushed herself up, dizziness washing over her, and grabbed her own phone from beneath the couch cushion where she'd hidden it days ago. Her hands shook so badly she mistyped the contact name. She meant to text Marcy from the diner, the only co-worker who knew the truth, the only one who'd offered her a spare key and a couch. But the M in her phone autofilled a number she didn't recognize, a number she had saved months ago, after one strange night serving a private party. Mr. Romano. She didn't have time to fix it. Her lungs felt too small for her body. She typed one sentence with shaking thumbs and hit send. "He broke my ribs. I can't breathe. I'm behind the laundromat on Wabash. Please." Eliana slipped out the apartment door barefoot, clutching her coat to her chest. The hallway lights flickered. Outside, cold air stabbed her lungs, and she nearly collapsed on the icy steps. She forced herself to keep moving, half running, half limping down the block, until she found the laundromat's alley, a narrow canyon of dumpsters and frozen puddles. She crouched behind a blue dumpster and hugged her knees, trembling so hard her ribs screamed. Somewhere nearby, a train horn moaned, long and lonely. She checked her phone. No reply. She stared at the screen like staring could pull help out of it. Across the city, Luca Romano was signing off on a container schedule at Gibson's when the message arrived. He read it once, then again, because the words didn't belong in his life. Broken ribs, wrong number, a woman begging. His people killed for him, lied for him, went to prison for him, but no one begged. Nico, his head of security, was mid-sentence about a city inspector. Luca raised a hand. Silence fell. Luca typed 2 words and sent them before he could reconsider. "Wait right there." Then he stood, buttoning his coat. "We're leaving," he said. Nico's eyes flicked to the untouched whiskey, to the paperwork, to Luca's phone. "Boss, we have—" "Not now." Luca's voice carried an edge that ended arguments. In the car, Luca pulled up the number. No name on the account, no history, just the message and the raw ache behind it. He replied again, slower this time, as if the rhythm of words could keep a stranger breathing. "I'm coming. Do not move. If you can, tell me what he looks like." Eliana's screen lit up. Her eyes blurred with tears she refused to let fall. The reply wasn't Marcy. It wasn't even a friend. It was the man whose name the servers at the private party had whispered like a prayer and a warning. Mr. Romano. Luca Romano. A mafia boss, if rumors were true, the kind of man who solved problems by making them disappear. Her throat tightened. She started to type anyway, because fear didn't change the fact that she was dying in an alley. Tall, blonde, tattoo on his right hand. "He's drunk. Please hurry." She heard footsteps at the alley mouth and froze. Tyler's voice floated in, sharp with pleasure. "Ellie," he called softly, like he was coaxing a pet out from under a bed. Come on, I'm not mad anymore. Eliana pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from coughing. Every breath was a knife. Her phone buzzed again. Stay low. I see your alley entrance. Don't look up. Headlights swept across the brick wall, then cut out. A car door opened, another closed. Tyler stopped speaking. His boots scraped on gravel, uncertain now, sensing a new predator in his territory. A shadow filled the alley mouth, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a dark coat. Luca Romano's voice carried softly, almost polite. You looking for a girl? Tyler laughed too loud. Who the hell are you? Someone who doesn't like men who hit women, Luca said. The words were calm. The violence behind them was not.
Eliana saw Tyler's silhouette shift, his arm lifting, the flash of metal. Luca moved faster, a muffled crack, a grunt, then Tyler hit the pavement with a sound like wet laundry. Nico stepped in, pinning Tyler's wrists with a knee. Luca crouched beside the dumpster. His eyes found Eliana in the darkness, wide and terrified, and his expression changed, just a fraction, as if anger had met something softer, and didn't know what to do with it. You texted the wrong number, he said, almost accusing. Eliana tried to laugh and nearly screamed. I'm sorry, she whispered. Luca's gaze dropped to the way she protected her ribs, to the bruising that climbed her neck. His jaw flexed. Who did this to you? Eliana's eyes slid to Tyler on the ground, still breathing, still dangerous. He did, she said, and the alley felt suddenly too small for what Luca Romano was about to become. Luca didn't ask permission before lifting Eliana from the frozen pavement. He slid one arm behind her shoulders, another under her knees, and carried her toward the black sedan as if the alley belonged to him. Eliana's head lolled against his chest. Every jolt of movement made her ribs flare with white pain. Easy, she gasped. I've got you, Luca said, voice tight. Behind them, Nico hauled Tyler upright by the collar. Tyler's blonde head lolled, his eyes glassy with shock. I didn't do anything, he slurred. You broke her, Nico replied and shoved him against the brick. Luca paused at the car door and looked back. The street lamp caught his face in hard lines. Call an ambulance, Eliana whispered. Not for me, for him, and call the police. Nico blinked, surprised. Luca's gaze returned to Eliana. You want him alive? I want him arrested, she said, swallowing blood. If he disappears, they'll say I made it up. Luca held her stare for a long moment, then nodded once, as if accepting a rule he hadn't planned on following. Do it, he told Nico. In the sedan's warmth, Eliana shivered violently. Luca wrapped his coat around her, careful not to press her ribs. His phone was already in his hand. Dr. Saeed, he said when someone answered. I need a private exam, now. She has rib trauma and trouble breathing. Eliana tried to protest, but the words caught behind pain. Luca's thumb brushed her wrist, finding her pulse like a check of ownership. Stay awake, he murmured. They drove through empty streets that looked innocent under fresh snow. Eliana watched storefronts blur and tried to remember how she'd gotten here, how an ordinary night had turned into a Mafia boss's coat around her shoulders. She had met Luca Romano once, 6 months ago, at a private party in a penthouse where the tips were fat and the rules were silent. She'd served him whiskey. He had thanked her without looking at her body. That small courtesy had made her remember his name. Now he knew hers. The clinic wasn't a hospital. It was a converted townhouse with one discreet entrance and no signs. A man in scrubs opened the door before they knocked. Luca carried Eliana inside, ignoring her attempt to stand. Put me down, she whispered, pride flaring. I will, he said, When you can breathe? Dr. Saeed was a calm woman with silver-framed glasses and hands that didn't shake. She examined Eliana with brisk gentleness, ordered an X-ray, then turned to Luca. 2 fractured ribs, she said. No puncture, pain management and rest. She's lucky. Luca's jaw flexed. Lucky? Dr. Saeed's gaze sharpened. If you're the reason she's lucky, don't become the reason she isn't. Trauma patients need agency. Eliana stared at her, startled by the blunt defense. Luca didn't argue. He only said, she's not leaving alone. Eliana pushed herself upright, wincing. I can go to Marcy, she said. My friend? You texted the wrong number, Luca replied, almost bitter. Your friend didn't answer. I did. My phone. Eliana reached for it. It's in my pocket, Luca said, because Tyler could still be watching. Eliana's stomach turned. He'll come back. He won't, Luca promised. The promise sounded like a verdict. A knock interrupted them. Nico stepped in, wiping snow from his shoulders. Ambulance took him, he reported. CPD too, he's alive, barely coherent. Eliana exhaled shakily. Nico glanced at Luca. He's not just a boyfriend, Nico added. He's a runner for Hale's crew. He's been skimming cash off the poker rooms. The room went colder. Eliana's eyes widened. I didn't know. Luca's gaze pinned Nico. Hale is touching my money and my woman, he said softly. I am not your woman, Eliana snapped, the words sharper than her breath could support. Luca turned to her. For a second his expression was pure surprise, then something like respect. Not yet, he said, but Hale already thinks you are. That's the problem. Eliana's throat tightened. Why would Hale care about me? Because you're leverage, Nico said, and because you're in Luca's car on camera. Eliana felt nausea rise. I didn't ask for this. No, Luca agreed. You asked for help. You got war attached. Dr. Saeed cleared her throat. She needs a safe place tonight, she said. Quiet. No stairs, no stress. Luca's eyes settled on Eliana, dark and steady. My penthouse, he said. Eliana shook her head. I'll be your hostage. You'll be protected, Luca corrected. She met his gaze through pain and fear. Protected by a man who threatens people for a living. Luca's voice lowered. I don't threaten, I finish. He paused, then added, softer. But I will listen to you. Tell me what you need. Eliana swallowed. My keys, my paycheck, and a guarantee you won't make him disappear. Luca nodded once. Keys and money, and Tyler lives to testify. His eyes held hers. In exchange, you stay where I put you until this is over. Eliana's chest ached for air. She hated that the deal made sense. She hated even more that Luca's attention felt like warmth in winter. One night, she said. Luca's mouth tightened, as if compromise tasted unfamiliar. One night, he agreed. Outside, dawn had not yet softened the sky. Luca guided her into the car, then placed her phone in her palm. No more hiding it, he said. If anyone calls, you let me hear. He paused, eyes fixed on her bruised mouth. And Ellie? Don't apologize for surviving. The name on his tongue startled her in that moment more than the pain. As they left the clinic, Eliana's phone buzzed in Luca's pocket. He pulled it out and read the screen. His expression changed, the calm cracking into something deadly. Unknown number. She's with you. We want her back. Luca slipped the phone into his coat, then looked down at Eliana, like the world had just drawn a line around her. Too late, he murmured. Luca's penthouse sat above the city like it didn't belong to the same weather. The elevator opened directly into a foyer of pale stone and quiet light. No doorman, no neighbors, No hallway gossip, just a private silence that felt expensive enough to suffocate. Eliana stepped out with Luca's coat wrapped around her shoulders, her ribs taped under her sweater, her bare feet shoved into clinic-issued socks. She had never been this high above Chicago. Up here, the traffic looked like a polite ribbon. Down there, it was teeth. Nico and 2 guards swept the space first, checking corners as if danger could hide behind art. Luca watched Eliana instead, his attention fixed on the shallow way she breathed. "Guest room," he said. "Second door on the left. Bathroom inside. You lock it from your side." Eliana stared. "You're giving me a lock." "I'm giving you control," Luca replied. "You asked for it." The guest room was bigger than her entire apartment. The bed looked untouched by human weakness. A city view filled the windows, glittering and false. Eliana flinched at the glass until Luca crossed to the curtains and pulled them closed. "No windows tonight," he said. Eliana swallowed. "I'm not scared of windows." "You're scared of what they represent," he corrected, and left before she could answer. She sat on the edge of the bed and held her phone like it was the last normal thing she owned. Her thumb hovered over Marcy's contact. She called. Marcy answered on the 3rd ring, breathless. "Ellie, oh my God, I just got your... Where are you?" "I'm alive," Eliana whispered. The relief in her voice cracked her pride. "Tyler hurt me. Bad. I tried to text you." "Are you safe?" Eliana's gaze slid to the door, to the quiet hum of security beyond it. "I don't know," she admitted. "I'm with someone. Luca Romano." Silence. Then Marcy exhaled a curse. "You mean Luca Romano, like... Ellie, that man is not a someone. That man is a whole crime documentary." "I know," Eliana said, eyes burning. "I texted the wrong number." Marcy's voice softened. "Okay, listen. Do you need me to come get you?" "No," Eliana said quickly. "Please don't. I don't want you near this." A beat. "Ellie, Tyler came by the diner," Marcy said, voice dropping. "Before the cops showed up. He was bleeding from his nose. He said you were crazy. He said you attacked him." Eliana's stomach twisted. "He's lying." "I know," Marcy said. "But he told Frank you were on something, that you fell downstairs, that you're trying to ruin him. Frank didn't believe him, but... Ellie, people like Tyler, they make lies sound like facts." Eliana closed her eyes. "I'm going to the police tomorrow," she whispered. "You should," Marcy said. "And I'll go with you. Just tell me where..." "Don't," Eliana repeated, sharper. "Please!" Marcy went quiet, then swallowed her anger. "Okay, call me when you can breathe without pain. I'm serious. And Ellie, whatever you do, don't let that man convince you you owe him." Eliana ended the call and pressed her forehead to her knees. She wanted to be brave. She wanted to be the woman who walked into a precinct, filed a report, and watched her abuser get handcuffed in front of everyone. But she also knew Chicago. She knew how Tyler's friends laughed at domestic disputes. She knew how judges sighed like it was paperwork, not bones. A knock came at her door, soft but firm. "Ellie," Luca said, "can I come in?" Her pulse jumped at the courtesy. "Yes," she managed. Luca entered alone, no entourage, no weapons visible. He carried a paper bag that smelled like soup and bread. He set it on the dresser and kept his distance. "Eat," he said. "Pain hits harder when you're empty." "I can't pay you back," Eliana said, voice flat. "I'm not asking for payback," Luca replied. Eliana stared at him. "Then what are you asking for?" Luca's jaw flexed as if the truth irritated him. "I'm asking you to stay alive long enough to make him answer for it," he said. "That's all." She studied his face, looking for the angle, the hidden hook. "You said Hale wants me back," she whispered. "Why do you care?" Luca's gaze didn't move. Because Hale doesn't get to put hands on a woman in my city and call it his, he said. Then quieter, and because you asked for help, and I answered. I don't abandon people I answer. Eliana's breath caught on pain and something worse. That sounds like ownership. It sounds like loyalty, Luca corrected. You can call it whatever makes you feel less scared. A buzz cut through the room. Luca's phone. He glanced at the screen and his expression tightened. He stepped into the hall, but Eliana heard his voice anyway, low and lethal. "This is Captain Rourke," a man said on speaker, too smooth. "We have your situation at the hospital under control." Luca's spine went rigid. "Tyler Grayson is in custody," he said. "He assaulted a woman." Rourke chuckled softly. "He had minor injuries, no witnesses, no clear cause. He's being released." Eliana's stomach dropped. Luca's voice turned to ice. "You're releasing him at 4 a.m. "Domestic matters are messy," Rourke replied. "If your friend wants to file, she can come down and do it the right way." Luca's eyes flicked to Eliana through the doorway. "She will," he said. "And when she does, you will process it like your badge still means something." Rourke's tone sharpened. "Careful, Romano." Luca ended the call and stood perfectly still for a moment, like he was choosing between two kinds of violence. Then he turned back to Eliana. "They're letting him walk," he said. Eliana felt the room tilt. "So he'll come back?" "Yes," Luca answered. "And Hale will use him to bait you." Eliana's hands trembled. "I want to go to the precinct now." Luca crossed the room slowly, stopping just short of her. "No," he said. "Not alone, not unprepared. We do this clean. We do this with evidence that can't be erased." "How?" she whispered. Luca's gaze hardened with purpose. "We make Tyler talk," he said. "We record it. We give it to someone who can't be bought. And when Hale moves, we make him move in the light." Eliana stared at him, ribs aching, hope dangerous. Outside the closed curtains, Chicago kept glittering like nothing had happened. By sunrise, Eliana's bruises looked darker, as if the night had finally decided to be honest. Luca watched her from the kitchen island while she sipped broth with both hands, careful not to breathe too deep. He had changed clothes, but the tension hadn't left him. It clung to his shoulders like a second coat. "They're letting him walk," Eliana said again, as if repetition could make it less real. Luca slid his phone across the counter. "Then we stop waiting for their permission," he replied. "We make him confess where they can't erase it." Nico entered with a tablet. "Tyler's release is logged. He'll go to the poker room on Wacker to report to Hale," he said. "That's his pattern. He'll be drunk, loud and proud." Eliana's stomach tightened. "I don't want him near me." "He won't be," Luca promised. "You'll be the bait he thinks he's chasing, but you won't be reachable." "That still makes me bait," she said, voice thin. Luca held her gaze. "It makes you the author," he corrected. "You decide the words, you decide the moment. I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing it with you." The distinction hit her harder than the painkillers. Eliana looked down at her phone. Tyler's contact was still there, the name she'd once used like a lock on her own fear. She opened the message thread, thumb hovering. "What do I say?" she whispered. "Something he can't resist," Luca said. "A chance to control the story, a chance to punish you." Eliana's mouth went dry. She typed anyway, forcing her hands steady. "I'm sorry. I fell. I'm at the back of Marcy's diner. I just want my things. Please don't make this worse." Luca nodded once. "Send it." She did, and her heart immediately tried to climb out of her ribs. Nico tapped the tablet. "Audio and video are live," he said. "Camera on the service alley, mic in the light fixture, time-stamped and cloud-duplicated. Eliana flinched. Cloud? So no one can delete it, Luca said. Not Hale, not Rourke. They moved her downstairs into a Valenti-owned storefront beside the diner, an empty office with a clean couch and no windows. Luca insisted she stay behind the interior door. You will hear him, he told her. You will speak through the chain if you need to, but he does not see you unless you want him to. Eliana nodded, throat tight. She hated hiding, but she hated dying more. An hour later, tires crunched on slush outside. A fist pounded on the diner's back door. Tyler's voice followed, loud and pleased. Ellie, open up! Eliana's hands trembled as she pressed her palm to the door's cold metal. Luca stood beside her in shadow, close enough to steady her without touching. Nico's voice murmured through a small earpiece. He's alone, no weapon visible. Eliana swallowed and slid the chain open a fraction. What do you want? She called, voice shaking on purpose, baiting. Tyler laughed. That's my girl, he said. Always dramatic. His face appeared in the crack, nose bruised, eyes bright with drink and cruelty. You called the cops on me. I didn't, Eliana lied. I just wanted my keys. Tyler shoved the door wider, forcing the chain to groan. You wanted your keys, you should have stayed quiet, he snapped. You think anyone cares about your ribs? Captain Rourke laughed. He said you'd be too scared to show. Eliana's stomach dropped. Luca's expression didn't change, but something in the air sharpened. Tyler leaned closer, lowering his voice like it was intimacy. You embarrassed me, he whispered. Hale's pissed. You know what I had to tell him? Eliana forced herself to breathe shallow and steady. Who is Hale? She asked. Tyler scoffed. Don't play dumb. Hale's the reason Rourke answers his phone. Hale's the reason girls like you don't get believed. He smiled, teeth too white. You're lucky I'm giving you a chance to fix this. Eliana's voice broke perfectly. How? Tyler's eyes glittered. You come with me, he said. You tell Rourke you lied. You tell the judge it was an accident. And you stop talking to whoever you texted last night. He squinted. Who was it, Ellie? Some rich guy? You trying to trade up? Luca stepped closer into the sliver of light, not fully visible, but enough that Tyler's smile faltered. Tyler's gaze darted. Who's there? Eliana heard her own pulse pounding. I'm not going anywhere, she said, voice steadier now. And you're going to say what you did. Tyler's face twisted, anger rushing in to replace his surprise. I did what I had to, he snapped. You don't get to leave me. Hale told me to keep you in line. Said you'd be useful if Romano ever noticed you. He laughed, bitter. Guess he was right. The silence that followed felt like a trap closing. Luca opened the door all the way. Tyler stumbled back, eyes widening as Luca Romano stepped into the alley, like the night belonged to him. Luca's voice was calm. Say it again, he said. All of it. Tyler's swagger collapsed into panic. Look, man, I didn't know. Nico and two men appeared behind Tyler, blocking the alley exit without touching him yet. Tyler's eyes flicked between them, calculating. Then he tried to run. He didn't get a step. Nico pinned him against the brick, firm and efficient. Eliana stepped into the doorway, ribs screaming, chin lifted anyway. You broke my ribs, she said. You threatened me. You lied to my job. And you just admitted Hale controls Rourke. Tyler's face drained. Ellie. Not Ellie, she corrected. Eliana Cruz. Luca's gaze snapped to her, something fierce and approving in the way she claimed her name. Then he looked back at Tyler. You gave us what we needed, Luca said. Now you'll give us the rest. By noon, the video file sat in 3 places: Gideon's server, Dr. Saeed's legal packet, and a federal inbox tied to an agent who hated Hale more than he feared Valenti. Captain Rourke was suspended by evening. Tyler was rearrested before midnight. Hale's lawyers started calling at dawn. Eliana stood in Luca's penthouse the next night, watching the city flicker beneath storm clouds. Her ribs still hurt. Her fear didn't vanish, but something inside her had shifted from prey to witness. "I'm not staying here forever," she said. Luca stepped beside her, close but not crowding. "I know," he replied, "but you can stay until you're ready." Eliana studied him. "No cages," she said. Luca nodded once. "No cages," he promised. "Just a door you can open whenever you choose." Eliana exhaled, and for the first time in months, the air didn't feel like a fight. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull her in. He simply held on, steady, like he was learning a different kind of power. And somewhere in her phone, the wrong number was no longer a mistake.